Okay, so this last slide was just the introduction of this afternoon topics, and which will be anticipated by the coordinator of this psychfa project, psychfa 2.0 project, which is the European Observatory for Crowdsourcing. So I will Atta illustrate this piece of information.
Girona, can you make a phone call?
Yes.
Make the
Yes.
regional
Okay.
taxi. My flight's at 2 and half an hour to get to.
Okay.
Apologies, because I've had some issues with our travel agents. Just, you know, chain of administrators. They sort of booked me to a flight back at 2, because that's the only flight that you know, goes from Florence to London, and so it's caused these issues. But I really much appreciate your accommodating my talk. So I need to rush a little bit, but I'd just very quickly welcome and thank you very much for all this, organizing this very interesting event. As for psychfa, this is the consortium, as you would probably know, and this slide summarizes what we set out to achieve, which we have achieved. Indeed, we have surpassed what we intended to achieve, which was essentially to act as a support action, but we've gone beyond that. We've established a platform. We have acted really as one of the leaders, if not the leader, actually, in the investigation of models of participative engagement and the psychocognitive factors associated with that, as well as, of course, the wider understanding of social innovation and community management. So this slide just summarizes what we set out to achieve and actually what we evaluated and deployed in different sort of communities in Rome and in Florence. And indeed, we have, as a result, published a couple of books and of course, some results and deliverables which you're welcome to access. And indeed, of course, the platform that we hope to have, you know, continue to actually be used and develop further. Today, I just want to quickly, I haven't got much time, look at something that I've been sort of thinking about, and that is what I call innovation societal. This is because I've noticed that social innovation has been used as a common currency that is just used liberally, glibly almost, by many people, and it refers to all sorts of efforts. Some of them are actually very beneficial, others are used, misappropriated by vested interests, and so I thought, no, let's have something that really is social and really benefits society and cannot, as far as possible, be misappropriated. And that, to me, is, you know, I call this innovation societal. And so what is it? It's essentially a catalytic ecosystem that tries to put together the PNP, the public, the NGOs, and the philanthropic. Combine the efforts of these agencies, these entities, and attempt to bring about real open consensus building in assessment, holistic assessment of social needs, and arriving at sustainable, scalable solutions that are objectively assessed through ex-ante holistic assessment and ex-post assessment. And so this slide is sort of, I tend to not actually sort of particularly be wedded to every word of my slides, and that's my style of presentation. I use this slide as more or less as a wallpaper, as a backdrop to what the essential message that I want to give. So you can read this at your leisure, but basically the message of this slide is essentially trying to introduce what we do mean by innovation societal, as distinct from social innovation, because the term has been misappropriated. So we would like to try actually tease out and distinguish the precise flavor of innovation that was intended to be social and beneficial. And indeed, that is why we call it differently to distinguish it, social innovation societal. And it needs, of course, the widest possible participation and the democratization of the innovation process. And of course, its focus is not primarily on an individual, on someone who could, a private entity to benefit, but all the value has to accrue to society. Open source innovations, scalable, sustainable, beneficial impacts to environment and society, and essentially everyone engaged. Citizens, NGOs, and agencies, private business as well, of course. And we have listed them here. It includes, of course, community interest groups, advocacy groups, because sometimes people cannot articulate their own needs. The disenfranchised, the marginalized, the underprivileged, the underserved, they too need a voice. We have to raise the floor for them to be able to articulate their needs. And therefore we need advocacy groups to help them to represent their needs. Above all, they have to match the lobbyists of the private sector. And that is really why I'm talking about innovation societal. Because so much of what we think could be good, which is private sector working with the government, with the NGOs, lends itself in practice to lobbying, which actually is lobbying for reducing taxes there, to relax the constraints, the regulation, whatever is good for business. And that is wrong. So, what is the innovation subtext? Actually, I think that if we didn't want to do it, we would be forced to do it, because complexity needs framing and taming. And a lot of our problems, our headaches, are so complex. We are in a world, a mess really, of a complex web of problems, and not one individual entity or sector can solve them. So it's a necessity that we have to have innovation society. And of course we don't. We need to be mindful of the social, econo-political, and not just the social. Okay, so that is why we say society. Okay, then of course there are structural inequalities, structural rigidities that are pushed under the carpet. And you know, the politicians speak. There are hijackings that are going on of the social network, of the social innovation. Well, you know, the first is really the neoliberal conservative discourse, the new speak of we are in it together, and you know, come on, we need to one nation conservatism, as Cameron calls it. But Reagan started it by saying less government, better for you, but then less taxes for the rich. Yeah. So, and then of course, at the cost of what? At the cost of what he set about to do: food stamps, reduction of food stamps, allowances, childcare, etc. And of course, it only hit the underprivileged. And of course, you know, you talked about earlier on about the subprime mortgages. That came about because a very good innovation, social innovation scheme called Self-Help, for helping people in North Carolina actually becoming homeowners, was hijacked by the banks. But a cascade of banks, structures, all for greed. And of course, they caused the whole mayhem, the 2008 crash. And of course, then what did we do? We said, we're all in it together. We use your taxes to rescue these fat cats who has created the mess. And that is social innovation. So it's been used as a pseudonym for making fast buck. It has been essentially used as some way of exit velocity, cashing in. You know, getting something together and just cashing in and run away, sort of thing. It is not always necessarily having high on his agenda environmental, sustainable, scalable environmental benefits. So where have we ended up in? A few haves and billions of have-nots in poverty traps. A world in a complex mess of problems. Okay, we have these swaps and citizens. this and that and the other, but they don't scale up. We need a fourth pillar, a catalytic fourth pillar, another disruptive one, I might hasten to add, a catalyst that actually essentially establishes objective citizenship and objective corporate behavior, corporate citizenship, and then brings everyone together and avoids misappropriation of the word innovation. Basically, what innovation has been doing, we almost need a third industrial revolution to undo some of the mess under the guise of innovation. So, we need to sort it. We need holistic, objective processes, legal, ethical, socio-economic, political, ideation, development of new ideas that are mass accessible, new services that are mass accessible. We need corporate governance that's responsible, not just appointing a professor in corporate responsibility in a university, but actually being responsible. Acting as a corporation, shareholders that challenge corporate ethical behavior. We need to liberate those processes. We need to tackle structural rigidities. So, yes, we need to innovate governance, have new accountability and auditability, findability, answerability regimes that essentially prevent people escaping responsibility, hiding fictively, and getting away with it. Okay, so if there's accountability, then we're all in it together properly. Smart specialization is very important as well. Of course, we need to know how to play to our strength. Where? Locally, regionally. Differentiating locally, excelling globally. We need, of course, to first and foremost be mindful of the world hunger and the third world drug need of medical attention. People who do not have the wherewithal to actually have basic medical medicines. We need people who don't have any electric power. We need basic hygiene for some degree of comfort in society for all. Air, water, power, quality assurance. And don't take it for granted, because it's in Africa and places like that, many places do not have air, water, power, quality assurance. They don't have it. Waste management. And of course, we have to go back to the basics. Children are the future, and they are the root of the future citizenry. So their protection, their nurturing, we have to innovate in that direction. We have to innovate in ways in which we can actually have participative engagement widened and deepened and objectively appropriated. Physical and mental health. And of course, we have to, in a cyber world, we have to ensure everybody has the basic tips: trust, identity, privacy, and security, protection. So, what is the future of loneliness? Many generations of people who worked hard, and some of them, of course, the poorest sections of society, ending up in loneliness and lack of dignity, loss of dignity. What do? Everyone deserves a dignified exit. So that's another facet of social innovation, concern for schemes that benefit everyone, and especially raise the floor for the underprivileged. So what do? We need to educate people, liberate them from the concepts of social innovation and essentially that sort of terminology used as something that is a very woolly and wonderful concept that can be misappropriated and essentially is not acted on faithfully in a way that's scalable and inclusive. So we need to educate people, new MBAs maybe even, in what it means to do innovation societal. What it means, first of all, don't think social innovation is a magic wand. You have to have sustainable, scalable effort. You have to actually do something about structural rigidities. Otherwise it's piecemeal. Something here, something there. Doesn't make the whole thing sort of significantly re-engineered, transformed for new open government and blissful equality. You need to train people. So how to tackle these structural rigidities. Finding and training more special entrepreneurs. And beyond all of this, we need to leverage cross-sectoral interests, realigning the public sector, private sector, NGOs, philanthropy, agencies, charities, etc., in a way that they can work together, share experiences, and actually be deeply engaged in forming policies that are socially beneficial, but actually using those as, shall we say, as pump priming future social innovations, so that we don't just end up with a single project here, a single project there, but it becomes a regime of social innovation projects and schemes that intertwine and provide a significant change for the better. So, and of course, we need to remind people of the basic motivations that have to be there in order to make all this happen, and that is a commitment to objective citizenship and corporate citizenship. Not shallow value packing, but deep engagement. Not sound bites, but real meaning to what we do. We have to encourage seed philanthropy. Like the Ford company, they used $50 million to actually pump prime some scheme, in fact the self-help scheme. And that led to $2 billion becoming available for loans for people, But of course, that was before the bank started kind of working on that to prevent the scheme essentially, and greed took over, and the system caused a crash indeed. So seed philanthropy is very important. We know that often a relatively insignificant amount of money that's much needed by some sections of society, a group, local group, can help get programs off the ground, and that's very important. Examples of social innovation start from, kind of 18th century. In 1750, the Quakers banned investment in slave trade. There was a New Deal in the aftermath of the Great Depression in 1930s. In 1980s, a lot of people divested from investments in South Africa as a protest against apartheid. Emission trading, we have had fair trading, we have the Carbon Disclosure Project, where companies have to actually declare what sort of, what kind of profile of carbon footprint they're maintaining in their processes, both embodied carbon and carbon as in processes. And of course the European Union has been doing some work on putting together an innovation strategy. A notable example in South Australia, the governor there actually put together a very good example of social innovation affecting mental health and disability services, etc. And the White House also put together a social innovation fund, which has worked very well. And of course there are schemes like this that have been copied. And indeed the EU also had some programs, the URBAC program, that was designed to actually allow the cities to learn from each other, kind of exchange lessons learned in urban management policies. So, yes, and the DG Connect has started social innovation, European social innovation, and they have mapped the various innovations projects that are ongoing in the 27 member states to try and learn from that. And I think, okay, these, like the Salusi project, and notably One World Health is very interesting. It's drugs for the third world countries who cannot afford normal, prices. Prices that are charged normally in the Western world. A company called Merck & Co. They started a public-private initiative to donate drugs to the third world. These are good examples. And of course, health was the greatest example. I just wanted to kind of, don't have much time, just wanted to give you a feel for what I'm thinking about and what I think is worth thinking about in this context. Because there's so much buzzwordism going on about social innovation, digital social innovation. But actually, we need to look deeply at the process and examples of social innovation to see how we can improve upon both the understanding and the practice of social innovation, which I would call innovation societal. Thank you very much. I think. I have a few minutes for questions. About questions.
So no, I would like to ask you to briefly, 1 minute, also introduce the psychfa 2 project and how the psychfa 2 project deals with the social innovation, because clearly this afternoon we shared go deeper in the psychfa 2 project.
Indeed. Okay. To answer this question, we'll have to look into what might be the prerequisites of social innovation. And every which way you look at it, the key prerequisite is engagement. And I think psychfa 2.0 is a leader, a forerunner, really, in this, in the provision of a space for deeper engagement. But as with all projects, we started from somewhere and we have developed the platform to a great extent. But actually, what we see is the potential for social engagement, deeper social engagement, coupled with what we say, and I have underlined it throughout my talk, objectivity. Objectivity. So much of the food for thought of everyday citizenry is from tabloids, from headlines. One day statins are bad for you, another day statins are good for you. One day milk is bad for you, another day milk is good for you. One day, one thing, next day, another. And it really is, sort of difficult to know how a citizen, given to this exposure to this kind of thing, this kind of knowledge bases, can be empowered to make objective, rational decisions. You see, democracy has no meaning if citizens have no access to expert, up-to-date, verifiable information about anything, about health, schooling, politics, the state of the nation, the GDP, whatever it is, of the country. So the idea is actually to develop, to build on PsychFA, to kind of work on advanced analytics that, on the one hand, translate the sort of the knowledge basis about the wants and needs and opinions of people in discussion and discourse, as they're engaged, and on the other hand, feed them not rubbish, because rubbish in, rubbish out, but objective, allow them to have access to objective information. And I must add that that has to include the digital natives and the non-natives, and those who have no access to any machines. So that is raising the floor. Thank you.